Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Justice or free press.
Yay, welcome. And we'll just ask you to mute yourselves as you come in, just because we are maybe a large group here tonight. Turn off the waiting room. Great. And I'm actually going to make Madison and Shonda, I'm going to make you guys co-hosts just so if people are unmuted and stuff like that, if you can help just make sure that, how do I do this? There you go. Shonda. Hello, welcome. Oh, so good to see all your faces. Hi, Amy. Hi, Bernadette. Hi, Heather. Hi,
Hello,
Gina.
everybody.
Nice to see you. Hello to many new faces as well. Lisa, Monique, Denise, Sandra. Wonderful. Cool. Got it, Ali. No problem. Yes. Totally. Yeah. Great. Just bear with me as I make sure we have everything working here. Okay. Great. And we will, for those of you who are joining now, welcome. And I will just ask you to mute yourselves when you come in, just because we are a large group and just to minimize the background noise. It's really helpful. Hi, Jamie. Don't see you yet, but I see you. Awesome. Okay. Okay. Oh, and I want to record also with our other recorder. Just double make sure. There's Sanaz. Hi, yay. Okay, great. That's in. So, wonderful. Okay, so I'd like to begin with just a very short somatic meditation. So coming and bringing us kind of all onto the same page, coming into our bodies. And I want to just say before we drop in there, I do recognize that not everybody feels safe to go into your body. And so just, really, I'm going to guide it in such a way that there's like lots of different options in terms of how you feel into your body. And we'll go like really, really basic, which I find is helpful for everyone, no matter how confident and like the depth that you can go in. Basic is always great, right? And yeah, and just anything that I invite you to do during this call, it's like really take care of yourself. So like do what works for you, if that makes sense. Yeah, so if something I invite you to do doesn't work for you, just, find a way to adapt it to what does work for you. Cool. Okay. So I'm going to invite you to close your eyes or soften your gaze if that feels good for you. And just turning your attention to yourself and beginning to notice just that you have a body. And so you might notice, oh, yeah, there it is. And just bringing awareness to your butt on the seat, on the chair underneath of you. And that contact that your butt is making with the chair, just noticing the weight, noticing the contact. And just noticing that your body is breathing. This beautiful miracle of, you don't even have to pay attention and think about it, but there your body keeps going, keeps breathing. And so we're not trying to make anything of the breath. We're not trying to make it deeper. We're just noticing the breath as it is. And the tendency can be when we start to notice our bodies, the first thing that often grabs our attention is places that are tight or painful or, less comfortable, simply because those places are often like louder in how they communicate. It's like very noticeable, right? So if you're noticing anything like that, pain or tension, just acknowledging it. And then see if you can get curious and notice somewhere in your body where there's a bit more ease. And there's a bit more where it's just like, yeah, it's okay enough. And it might be somewhere really strange, like your big toe or your left ear or your, I don't know, top of your head or something like that. So just really get curious and see if you can find that spot. And it might be somewhere that feels like, wow, there's a lot of space there. It feels really, really nice, really good, really easy. Or it might just be somewhere that's like neutral, it's less painful. So we're just orienting to resource in the body here. And just noticing, once you find your spot, just noticing, what is it like in there? What tells you that it's a bit more okay or a bit more spacious than other places? What's the sensation in that spot? Yeah. If I had a color, what color would it be? Or an image? And then just letting that go. And I'm going to invite you to now bring your attention to sound and just noticing the sound that's around you in all directions. You probably hear my voice will be one of the sounds you'll hear. Maybe there's some cars on the street outside or some birds or the wind or a fan. Just noticing what the sounds that are around you are right now. And then see if you can notice the quietest sound. And then if your eyes are closed, just softly opening them and not looking at the screen yet, but taking a look around the space that you're in. And just letting yourself look around almost as though you have new eyes and you're seeing your space for the first time and just noticing color, texture, shape. An invitation to notice and kind of let your nervous system know, is it safe enough for me to relax just a little bit more right now in this space? We call this practice checking for bears because often our nervous system is kind of in a hyper state, of like protection. And when we look around and realize, oh, there's actually no bears, then we can relax a little bit more. That may sound funny, but it's real. You know, our nervous systems are tens of thousands of years old, and they really do orient in that way. So, and then just coming to the screen and just seeing who's with us tonight and just welcoming each other. If you have your videos on, wonderful. You can see each other and welcome each other into the space. Hi, Jennifer. Nice to see you. Hi, Kathy. Hi, Vanessa. Hi, Crystal. Wonderful, wonderful. Great. Okay. Wonderful. Yay. Okay. So, I just want to orient you a little bit to kind of the flow of our evening tonight. And then we'll dive right in. So I'm going to say a couple of things, and then we're going to move into our introducing. I'll introduce myself, and then I'm going to introduce each of our team members, and then share a little bit about their stories and how they got here. And then I'll share a little bit about the different programs that we have open for enrollment right now. And then our last around half hour, 40 minutes will be Q&A. So just anything you guys want to ask us or share or check in about, we'll open up the space at that point. If you have a question come to you like while I'm talking or while we're talking and sharing, feel free to just pop it into the chat so that you don't lose track of it. Or, of course, you could make a note to yourself as well. But we probably will mostly answer questions at the end, unless something feels like very tied into what we're sharing in the moment. But for the most part, we'll try to stay focused to get through everyone's shares, because we really want you to get to meet us, and then we want to meet you. So okay, cool. Sounds good. Yes, awesome. Okay. So the first thing I just want to say is just a little bit of framing of our perspective on grief at Dark Woods of Grief. Because you're going to be hearing stories from all of our team, and we have such actually like a really diverse, very diverse backgrounds here. And so one thing that we say always in our community and all our groups and everything is just really invitation to try not to compare your grief, because there is such a diversity of experiences, and everyone's going to have a different experience. Even if you have something that's like very similar to someone else, you're still going to experience it differently because you're a different person, right? And so just see if you can, notice. I mean, of course, we all have, it's like our tendency as humans is to be like, oh, I'm different or mine's different or whatever, but just, comparison really is the enemy of freedom, connection, and joy. And it's also the enemy of being able to, allow our grief to have space to just be and to flow. So, just invitation to do your best to just let go of that if it comes up. Another piece of framing is that we, again, in all our spaces, hold the intention of holding what arises compassionately and to witness rather than fixing, advising, or judging. Okay. So both, that's our role as facilitators, but we also invite you to do that as you hear people's stories. Again, take what resonates, leave the rest behind, and post your questions in the chat thread, and then there'll be a specific time for Q&A near the end where you can unmute yourselves and share as well. So cool. Okay. And Sanaz, did you happen to bring that poem? I don't know if you got my message. Where is she?
I actually did not get your message.
Oh, the one about the glitter.
Oh, I do have it though.
Okay, I have two poems too, so I'll read my poems and then maybe you could share that one.
I do have it. Yeah, sure.
Okay, amazing. Great. Okay, so the two bits of poetry that I wanted to share is this is Mary Oliver. She says, "To live in this world, you must be able to do three things: to love what is mortal, to hold it against your bones, knowing your own life depends on it, and when the time comes, to let it go, to let it go." That's Mary Oliver from In the Blackwater Woods. And this second poem is Rainer Maria Rilke. It's called It's Possible. He says, "It's possible I'm pushing through solid rock in flint-like layers as the ore lies alone. I'm such a long way in, I see no way through. and no space. Everything is close to my face, and everything close to my face is stone. I don't have much knowledge yet in grief, so this massive darkness makes me small. You be the master, make yourself fierce, break in, and then your great transforming will happen to me, and my great grief cry will happen to you. That's Rilke. And then I'll pass it to you, Sanaz. You're ready.
Yes. I'm just having phone issues. I'm trying to connect through my laptop, but well, bear with me. I'm going to open my video later when my laptop actually works, but for now, grief is like glitter. The moment your world shatters, it's as if someone threw it into the air and it rained down over everything. It settles into your skin, your hair, the deepest cracks of your life. You try to sweep it up, desperate to feel in control of something. You think you've cleared it away until it shows up again. Months later, years later, in the corner of a picture frame you dust every week. On the sleeve of a sweater you've worn a dozen times without noticing it was there. Stuck to the floor where the light hits just right, and suddenly it's undeniable again. You'll never get it all. It will always be there, this glitter of grief, catching the light in both beautiful and brutal ways. Amy Suiko, In Their Footsteps.
Thank you so much. So beautiful. Perfect. Okay, so welcome, and I am Josiah, as you probably know. And I am currently living as an uninvited guest on the traditional territory of the Tla'amin and Sechelt peoples who have tended this land since time immemorial. I was born very close by here on what's now known as Vancouver Island on the territory of the Snuneymuxw people. For over 25 years, I've been doing this work with grief and trauma, and through practices that work with the nervous system and rewiring the brain, learned through my studies in somatic therapy, attachment theory, deep nature connection, craniosacral therapy, and of course, grief tending. I have learned to support people to completely transform how they experience the world and themselves. As a survivor of severe childhood abuse, learning these skills was not optional. It was a matter of necessity. And so, yeah, I should say I've also learned how to support myself to completely transform how I experience the world and myself. And yeah, I experience a tremendous amount of grief. Grief, true. I was going to say joy, but grief also, as well as a tremendous amount of joy in the world. So I'm really grateful for that, both. And it's my mission now to create spaces in this world where people can experience safety and belonging, or at least enough safety and belonging, and can gain the skills that it takes to heal ourselves. And I believe that grief tending is at the heart of every liberation and decolonization movement. I believe that grief tending is at the heart of liberation. We cannot experience liberation and deep nature connection or deep connection with nature, with each other and ourselves when we're overburdened with unprocessed grief, right? We can't connect when we're overburdened with unprocessed grief. So we need healing not only for ourselves as individuals, but for the collective. We need it now more than ever. And I'm deeply grateful and forever grateful to my mentors, Elizabeth Clare Burr, who is here tonight, as well as the late Sonar Medicine Wolf, and for my teachers, Frances Weller, author of The Wild Edge of Sorrow, Mariah Moser, founder of Opening to Grace Relational Somatic Psychotherapy, Peter Levine and Diane Poole-Heller, Irene Lyon, John Young, and for the influence of Clarissa Pinkola Estes, Martine Prechtel, Gabor Mate, Hiro Boga, and many others. So that is a little bit about me. But I'm the most excited to introduce you tonight to my team, my amazing team. So first up, she doesn't know that she's first yet, but is Madison. Madison, can you unmute yourself and wave so people know who you are?
Yes, hello everybody.
So Madison Stadwell is an artist, a heartful creature, and a grief tender who lives on the traditional lands of the Anishinaabe peoples of Fort William First Nation, now known as Thunder Bay. She's completed 2 years of study at the Wisdom of the Earth Wilderness School and is, of course, also a graduating student of the Advanced Darkwoods Grief Tending and Ritual Facilitation, our first year, 4 years ago. And she's currently studying social work at Lakehead University. She is she basically runs the business at this point, to be honest with you. Like, she's amazing. She's who you will speak to if you email us, most likely. So she's our customer service star, and yeah, she's amazing. She's like, I feel like she's the other half of my brain a lot of the time, the part that's actually tracking things. So, yeah, and you want to share a little bit more about your story, how you ended up here?
Yeah, yeah, I am surprised that I'm first. Um, yeah, hi everybody. I'm sure that I probably connected with many of you through email, or I also am in our online community forum a lot. So if I haven't met you though, I'm glad to meet you now. And yeah, well, I got into this work through Josia so many years ago now. I can't really remember, but a while ago. And yeah, I came into this work of the Dark Woods of Grief when I was really yeah, I was in a lot of darkness and I was really, really, really struggling and needing help. And somebody pointed me in the direction of Josia. And yeah, so that's Josia has really influenced me in the work that we do here in the Dark Woods of Grief. Um, yeah, I mostly my journey with grief has been grief for the world, especially the land. And I feel a lot of rage and a lot of loss when I look out into the world that we're living in and the amount of destruction and violence that the land is experiencing, that people are experiencing, and that people are inflicting on each other and onto the land. Um, so that's how I am here. Um, and yeah, like Josia mentioned, sometimes it's hard because I haven't experienced a significant loss of a human in my life that who really, really deeply I was connected to or meant so much to me. So sometimes um, I feel a little bit shy because I don't know what that's like. And so I don't want to pretend like I know what that pain is like. Um, but yeah, I'm constantly trying to do my best to not compare my grief to others and to, again, make space for this grief and see it as valid because I think that our world and a lot of violence continues when we dismiss that grief of the injustice that exists in our world and not accepting the level of suffering um, that happens because of the choices that we make and the systems that are living right now. So, yeah, that's why I'm here. I think that that's all I have to share right now, but I'm just really grateful for all of you who are here. Um, yeah, I really, really, really appreciate being on the team, The Dark Woods of Grief. It means so much to me. So much to me to be supporting this community. So yeah, I appreciate all of you here and especially you, Josia.
Thank you so much. And I think it's so important. You're naming one of like a form of very disenfranchised grief that is so important to acknowledge and recognize. And like also what I think is important is like we connected when you were 19. And like I think so many young people are suffering with, looking out at the world that they're coming into and just how fucked up it is basically, and yeah, you're an example of somebody who's like really learned and gained the skills, and like you're doing it, you're carrying on and helping other people because of, of that. So thank you so much for being here, and thank you for your service to this collective. Mhm. Okay, so from the youngest to possibly the oldest, now we go to Jane, one of our elders on the team. Jane, can you unmute yourself and wave so people can see you?
So, hi everybody. Just seems so tricky. I was just trying to read your mind, how you'd be. So,
So I'm going to introduce you. So Jane worked as an educator for 50 years, supporting transformative inquiry-based literacy for children from birth through teenagers to undergraduate and graduate teacher candidates. She helped build trauma and healing informed school programs all over New York City that got to the root of what was in the way of students' learning. When her wife of over 3 decades fell ill, she began her study of caregiving and grief. Jane has studied with Zen and Tibetan Buddhist masters, hospice providers, and is a graduating student in the Advanced Darkwoods Grief Tending and Ritual Facilitation training, also our first cohort 4 years ago. Yeah. And her work is grounded in these lineages, as well as somatic tools, internal family systems work, and Reiki. Jane is also anti-Zionist Jew who believes that we were born for these times, and a lifelong activist with a focus on allyship and anti-colonial struggles. She's also a proud lesbian and has always represented and collaborated with other LGBTQ2S folks. Jane has built her own active practice now called Sow the Seeds of Healing to support individuals as well as couples and groups in somatic grief and trauma work. And I'll pass it to you, Jane, to share a little of your story or whatever you want to say.
well, you said most of it, and so I don't need to look at it. I'm here and I love being here. It's stunning to have walked in a few minutes ago, like come on to the room and see what has been built. And I've been privileged to be in the facilitator training teams over the years since I graduated. I just kept coming and kept learning and developing my practice. And so walking into the pre-meeting before our guests came today was a stunning accomplishment. So the image that Josiah holds of every village needing its own grief ceremonial structures. Yesterday, somebody very important in my community here, an elder, gay, Puerto Rican man, died. And the grief in the community is so heavy. He had been in a mobile chair for years, and then he started to get pneumonias and sick. And he's a poet, published poet. We had plans for him to do his next poetry reading at the local bookstore. And, I got the message today that he's gone. And just to have the room to grieve him in community, I have this vision because of this work to have some level of memorial with his books and his husband and all the people. He used to know every dog and people walk around. I'm in northern Manhattan on the land of the Lenni Lenape, and I've been envisioning how they wintered here. And each session I lead, I've been talking about what it looks like in the winter for the Lenni Lenape. But Felix would walk around. He'd know every person who has a bird on her shoulder, because there's people in New York City with birds on their shoulders, and every dog was appealed to him. And it's hard to know that he's gone and he won't be in these, in the past in our local park. And so this community that you've wandered into tonight is a place for this. And I've experienced it with my wife who's now gone almost 5 years, you start with this black, heavy duty, dark, black in the best way, of the best things coming out of darkness, but having to recognize this darkness encased in a very small shell. And then here in community, we enlarge the shell so that the seed of the grief still lives, and the beauty of your knowledge of this person, but there's much more spaciousness around it, and skill, much skill to learn how to provide space, create your own space. And so I'm deeply honored to be here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jane. So happy you're here. So grateful for you. So next we'll go to our other elder, Kimber. And Kimber, can you just unmute yourself and wave? And maybe actually say hi so that you cut, because then you're there you go. Perfect. Yeah. So Kimber is a naturally intuitive healer who follows her gut in everything he does. This is true. She has been studying healing, grief, and death in depth since her own initiation into grief in the summer of 2023. In December of that year, she found us at Dark Woods of Grief and attended a retreat with us, and she knew that she had found her calling. She is a graduating student of the 2024 Advanced Dark Woods Grief Tending and Ritual Facilitation Training, and is also a certified death doula through Village Death Care. She has a huge heart, and she brings depth and humor and hard-earned wisdom to everything she touches. She currently resides in Bend, Oregon, on the traditional territory of the Wasco, Wanakana, Warm Springs, and Northern Paiute peoples. And Kimber is a facilitator on our team. She is also our retreat manager. So if you ever come to one of our retreats, she will be guiding you along the way. So I'll pass it over to you, Kimber.
Hello, everyone. So happy you could all attend this evening. Yeah, I came to the first retreat, the Soul Song retreat, in December of 2023, and it is known that I have no idea how I got there. And it's true. My daughter, who was also my very best friend, died from ovarian cancer in July of 2023, and I basically went into a blackout, not knowing how I was going to get through every day, any day. And I found myself driving. Well, I sent an email, and I'm not sure how I found Josia online, but I sent an email, and I got a scholarship, and then I found myself driving from Oregon to British Columbia. And it was the first time in months that I felt safe, and it was first time in months that I felt held and heard, and it changed my life. As you can see, I'm still here. And I've come to adore the people that are all involved in this group, and it is still my safe place, my haven, my comfort zone. Every time I get to be involved with a grief and trauma session, I just go back to being peaceful and comfortable and feeling held and heard and loved. So if you are new, you are welcome. And we hope to, get to know you better and hold you as well.
Thank you so much. Yeah. If you're old, you're welcome too. Not just the new folks. Everyone's welcome. Yes.
Oh, of course. They know me though. Yes.
Yes, totally. No, sorry. You have to, I don't really facilitate in the group support group, so you won't have to tolerate my bad jokes, like if you join. But you will have to tolerate them on the rest of this call, unfortunately. So Ali, are you ready now? Give me a thumbs up. Cool. Okay. So next I will introduce to you Ali. Can you, yeah, unmute
Yeah.
yourself.
Hi.
So Ali has studied the work of Frances Weller, Megan Devine, Joanne Cacciatore. Am I saying that right? You can
Yeah.
correct. Okay, cool. David Kessler, Linda Nichols, and of course, The Dark Woods of Grief. Through her own personal journey with grief, Ali discovered the healing power of creativity, particularly writing, which led her to create her Substack, which is called And Then You Were Gone. And Ali now honors grief as sacred territory, one that invites spiritual opening, deepens self-compassion, and reminds us of the importance of community. She is a registered clinical counselor and graduate of our 2025 Roots of Ritual Grief Tending Foundations training. And she also assists with grief retreats at the Come Alive program at the Haven on Gabriola Island, and is passionate about supporting health and well-being across the physical, emotional, and spiritual realms. Pass it to you, my dear.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. Yeah, it's a privilege to be here. I tell you, I am about a month out from the 3-year anniversary of my partner dying by suicide. And I tell you, I did not think I was going to make it through that. It was very obliterating and very humbling. And, I'm a clinical counselor, and before this experience, really, grief was just something that I read about in a textbook. Like I just really had no idea the how profound and how yeah, just all the different places in my life that, and my understanding of grief was that it came in waves, and I was just like, there are no waves. There's just someone's grief just has its foot on my face, and I am underwater. So I really had to fight my way back from just immense pain, like moment after moment after moment. And I kind of came to realize, like, I'm the only one, even though there's people around me supporting me, I'm the only one who can kind of walk through this. And in that, I just started looking everywhere for um, resources and the people who could help me, and people who could help me make sense of how to um, move towards life again, because it was hard to trust in life. And a friend had sent me a link to Josea's website, and immediately I kind of resonated with how she spoke and her language, and so I reached out, and I think I remember having like a one-on-one session with you, Josiah, and then it everything just kind of evolved into me as part of my journey back into life, moving into creativity, as Josiah mentioned, but also into service. Because one of the things that I really felt when I was looking for support is like, it's hard for me to accept support and help from people who don't necessarily get it. Like I really didn't feel safe getting supported by people who didn't understand how much pain I was in, or and so I really felt like Josiah got it, and so here I am. Yeah. And it's interesting how, grief time and clock time are so different. Like I'm just heading to this 3-year anniversary, and I'm feeling it in my body already. And I'm just really grateful to be part of this community and have a place to keep tending to myself. Because, for all those who see me in my regular life, I look like I'm fine. So it's just really helpful to have a place where I can come and land and be true and honor the sacred territory that grief is. So I look forward to meeting some or all of you, and just welcome. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, and that's funny. So team, the way that I organize this tonight is kind of in your group, in your pods of how you facilitate. So just so you know a little more what's coming, those of you who haven't gone yet. But so Jane, Kimber, and Ali lead our grief support group, Grief and Praise session, which happens via Zoom calls on the first Monday of each month. So they lead the first Monday of each month. I mean, sometimes it moves around if someone's sick or whatever like that. But Jane, Kimber, and Ali are a team of facilitators. So yeah, that's our little pod number 1. And then we're going to go to Elizabeth, who is kind of her own pod, although Shanda supports her a lot, and so does sometimes other people. Yeah. So Elizabeth has, well, I feel like first I have to just say, Elizabeth was my first real therapist and yoga teacher. She's been a close mentor for me for almost 20 years now, which is kind of mind-blowing. And yeah, I'm just so deeply grateful for her presence on our team. She has studied the Vajrayana and nature of mind teachings within the Tibetan Buddhist tradition with Mingyur Rinpoche since 2008, and has taken the Bodhisattva vow, grounding her work in wisdom, compassion, awareness, and embodied presence. Her path expresses itself through meditation and yoga teaching, craniosacral and somatic therapy. It has expressed itself, I should say, through founding and stewarding a healing arts center, kirtan leadership, doula work, mothering, mentoring, and sacred partnership. She is an experience-based IFS-informed somatic and craniosacral therapist with over 25 years of direct practice, offering trauma-informed, client-led sessions that work at the subtle body level to address root causes. She guides our monthly meditation for emotional healing and nervous system regulation groups, which take place via Zoom on the second Monday of each month in our grief support group community. So I'll pass it over to you, Elizabeth.
Thank you, Josiah. And welcome, everybody. I was just reflecting that, I've been here since the beginning, since actually before the beginning.
Yes.
And I just feel so honored to be here and so grateful for Josiah's vision and her capacity to manifest this vision in form, because it is so needed. The grief work is something that I didn't ever name it what I was doing as grief work, but I was actually doing grief work without any guidance. And so how Francis Weller articulates that is rough initiation. So I was roughly initiated into grief through illness, trauma, and it was I was just trying to figure it out on my own, really, basically through the practices of yoga and meditation, which were really, really helpful, but not addressing exactly what it was. And so I'm really grateful for this work and grateful for everybody who is contributing to the communion and the growth of this work, because I feel like where we're heading, in the world, we're going to need this work more and more and more. And so I'm grateful to be learning all about grief work. And I also had a profound awakening in my 30s, which also contained quite a bit of grief in it too, as well, of, letting go of conditioning, societal conditioning, familial conditioning, and again, being supported through the Dharma and the practice of meditation. So I'm really grateful to be supporting everybody that's in the group, anybody who wants to come to learn about meditation and emotional healing and nervous system regulation. It's also been a big passion of mine. Learning how to regulate the nervous system has been like what I've needed in order to survive in this world. And so I pass on the tools that I practice. And just really, really grateful to be here with everyone. So thank you.
Thank you so much. And I just want to add one more thing to what you said is I really feel that the way that you teach meditation, and especially with the diversity of practices that you bring in, it's very accessible, like a lot more accessible than the way it's taught in many different places. So if you're somebody who's like, oh, you've tried meditation and it hasn't worked for you, try again with Elizabeth because it's different and I think it's very, very accessible. Still might not work and that's fine, but I think it's a lot more accessible than a lot of different modalities that are out there that are more like rigid, perhaps. So yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, and then we're gonna go to Sanaz. I see you got your video working. Do you want to just unmute yourself and say hi?
Hi, everyone.
So Sanaz, having navigated her own path through grief many times, Sanaz is passionate about helping others find their way. As a Iranian woman and immigrant, she has faced multiple forms of loss and what is coined as disenfranchised grief, often without access to resources or community support. And this journey has taught her how isolating grief can feel and the importance of processing it. Over the years, she has learned to channel her grief and recognize its transformative power, and she's now committed to helping others navigate their own losses. Professionally, she has a diverse background that complements her role as a grief facilitator. She is a product manager with degrees in electrical and biomedical engineering and management. She has mentored young professionals and volunteered for a suicide helpline, both of which have strengthened her ability to support people during difficult times. Her passion for storytelling has helped her connect with people on a deeper level and understand the power of shared experiences in healing. As a facilitator, she strives to create a compassionate and supportive space for others, grounded in empathy and enriched by professional and cultural insights. She teaches yoga and meditation and is a graduate of our 2024 Advanced Darkwoods Grief Tending and Ritual Facilitation training. And she also currently serves as a peer grief facilitator in the Kitchener-Waterloo area in Ontario. And she will be this year supporting in her second year of internship, or I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if you're an intern anymore or what to call you, but you're here. It's awesome. So she'll be supporting our new, about to open, we'll be opening in February, a monthly grief and praise session for Black, Indigenous, people of color only folks. So yeah, that'll watch for news of that coming soon. We are just getting ready to open that. So I'll pass it to you, my dear.
Thank you so much. And I apologize for being late. There's a lot of snow in Ontario, so yeah, it's tricky to drive and navigate your way back home. So I'm so happy to be here in one piece. But I also, I wanted to share with everyone that, so as Josia said, I'm Iranian, born, raised in Iran, and moved to Canada 16 years ago to Kitchener-Waterloo, and I'm still here. Not my favorite city, but I'm still here. And as you might have heard the news, you might have read, currently there's a situation in Iran is not the best, to put it mildly. But what's happening is that that grief that everybody's hearing about, that's been something that's not new. And that's something that I've always experienced. So that's a collective grief that all Iranians are going through right now and have been going through for over the years. We've had this current government, we call them the regime, for the past 40 something years, 47 years, from 1979. And that's been our life from day one. That's been our life. So that's the part that there's a lot of grief. There's a lot of grief amongst and trauma, of course. And so but that wasn't my initiations in a way. I can tell you then, well, life is sometimes wants to teach you the hard lessons in a very difficult way. So I also experienced loss in many different forms, losing loved ones, and some of the losses were devastating. And also what it's coined as disenfranchised grief, that the losses that a lot of people don't really validate as a loss. For instance, miscarriages, losing um, your job, immigrating, losing your country. There's so many, losing a relationship, ending a relationship. Those are all losses that bring can bring immense grief, and the society really doesn't acknowledge that. And that's something that I always want to help people to understand, that there's a room for them, there's a space for them, and I can hold space for the grief that is not recognized. And of course, yeah, the loss of my one of the biggest losses that I've experienced was the loss of my dog 2 years ago. Actually, 2 years ago, yesterday.
Mm. Mm.
See, I can still tell you, it still hurts. It still hurts. Last night, I turned on candles for him, and we sat down and we talked about beautiful memories that we had.
Mm.
So, yeah. And that is the true meaning of love.
Mhm. Yeah, stays tender.
And yeah, it just still feels very new.
Mhm. 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 Yeah. I have another good friend here who just lost her dog a couple weeks ago, and she's like, I know it's just a dog, but and I was like, no, like it's actually like a person that you live with every day, which is like, we think, oh, like maybe I didn't feel as much grief for certain people in my, my extended family, things like that. And then it's like this dog just like rocks me. It's like because it's like you live with them every single day. They're with you every single day, it's like very another form of very disenfranchised grief for sure. Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. And something that Ali was mentioning, that she wants to be with people that they understand it, and that is something that is very hard to find people who really understand some of the losses.
Mhm.
And that's really um, what I'm hoping, that I can create a space for people who really feel heard and seen, and all these different forms that other people really do not have a sense on what's happening.
Totally. Yeah, no, thank you so much. And thank you for naming, yeah, you named so many different forms of disenfranchised grief. And it's, like we said in the beginning, it can be so easy to kind of compare and then minimize some of these things, but it's like it's so important that we give attention to all of these aspects. And often the initiation is, like you said, the death of someone close to us. But then once we start to work with that grief, we start to realize, oh, there's all these other disenfranchised griefs that I have not worked with and allowed myself to feel and move through. And so it's very important. Of course, both is very important. So thank you so much for naming that. Yeah, beautiful. Okay, so next up we have Miss Selena. And so do you want to just unmute yourself and say hi?
Greetings, everyone.
So Selena is a Black woman, a death doula for Black women, yeah. Spiritual herbalist, wife, and mother, guided into this work by ancestral knowing and the expressed needs of her community. Her calling is rooted in the belief that death and grief are a sacred passage, one that deserves presence, ritual, and deep honoring rather than fear. She supports individuals and families through legacy planning, grief tending, and crying circles, weaving together spiritual care, earth-based wisdom, and compassionate companionship. As a herbalist, she holds a holistic understanding of the body, spirit, and nervous system, offering grounding support during times of profound change and grief. Her work is centered on dignity, cultural care, and remembrance. She walks with families as they prepare, release, and honor life, ensuring no one has to navigate these moments alone. She is a graduate of our 2025 cohort of the Roots of Ritual Grief Tending Foundation's facilitation training. And she is another one of the facilitators for our brand new up and coming monthly grief and pray sessions for BIPOC, Black, Indigenous, people of color only folks, which will be beginning in February. So pass it over to you, my dear.
Yes. Oh, what can I say that hasn't been said? Hello, everyone. I'm so glad that we're here together in this moment. Um, I'm probably going to echo some things that have been said from the wonderful team before, but there's something special about finding your people when you didn't know that you needed to find your people. Um, so yeah, I think death kind of found me like through the back door. I kind of was like, try to come through the front door, and I was like, no, I'm really not trying to do the death thing. And then came to the window and was like, I'm here. And it's like, no, but not really. So, death kind of found me a couple different ways. Um, First, I think my one of my first steps through my initiation, kind of like we're talking about, was the death of my father when I was 18, and kind of understood that I didn't understand what was happening, um, and kind of just followed the way here, collecting people's stories, always interested in ancestor work and, who am I in this moment from the people that I've come from. Um, yeah, and what physical death, kind of like we've been saying, before there's a physical death, there's a death of so many other things that it's just so hard to put into words. Um, so really the work that I love to do is just witnessing, right? Sometimes we just don't have words. Sometimes it's a moan, sometimes it's a cry, sometimes it's I don't know, I need to eat Ben and Jerry's ice cream. Then I'm the type that's like, boo, let's go get some Ben and Jerry's ice cream. That's just what we're gonna do. So yeah, so happy to be here, so humbled to be here on this team. Josiah, your vision. I don't have words. I'm just ecstatic to be part of this, to witness. Um yeah, I'm speechless, and I'm so glad that I'm here to witness all of you tonight or this afternoon. I'm at 8 o'clock at night, but but wherever you are in this thing we call time, I'm happy you find yourself here. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, and I just want to briefly introduce Taka Thompson, who is our the third facilitator of the BIPOC group that will be beginning in February. Even though she's not here tonight, I just want to name her and introduce her briefly. So, Taka is a grief tender and somatic practitioner who offers steady, compassionate presence for those navigating grief. With particular care for Black women, she understands grief as layered, personal, ancestral, cultural, and historical, and honors the many ways that it lives in the body. She creates spaces where there is no pressure to explain, fix, or move on. Rooted in ritual, nervous system awareness, and rest, her approach invites grief to be witnessed at its own pace with tenderness, choice, and care. She has a beautiful Substack where she writes more about this that's called The Rested Black Woman. So on Substack, you can find her at The Rested Black Woman. She is a graduate of the 2025 cohort of the Darkwoods Roots of Ritual Foundation's grief tending facilitation training. And yeah, she's the third facilitator for our upcoming Black, Indigenous, people of color group. Cool. Okay. So what have we got next? Oh, yes, Miss Shanda. So do you want to unmute yourself?
Hello.
Awesome, thanks. So Shanda lives in Inuvik in the Northwest Territories, in Gwich'in land and in Inuvialut settlement regions, and is happiest spending time out on the land. Often when I'm talking to her, she's out like crunch, crunch, crunch in the snow. It's true. She's yearning to rebuild our deep connections to other beings, human and non-human, and to experience the vastness of our universe. She's learning to use movement, acceptance, and compassion to heal and discover herself after years of masking and living in trauma response patterns. She is a graduate of the Darkwoods of Grief Advanced Grief Tending and Ritual Facilitation Training from 2024? Yeah. and she is moving into her second year with us as an intern and team support. Pass it to you, my dear.
Thanks, Josia. Yeah, thanks everyone for being here. And I keep losing track of just everything, like listening to all the other facilitators and kind of, um, yeah, just really finding myself in this space of, as so many have said, like deep gratitude and a little bit of like, how did I get here? And how are these incredible people my colleagues? Yes, which I think, I mean, maybe speaks a little bit to my journey, I guess, just yeah, I think I have sort of been like an overachiever always. And then I just like nothing really profound happened. I just hit a wall um in that lifestyle and that way of operating. And like crashed and burned out and like fell down a very deep dark hole. Um which I was in for a while. And then, like, a few people have said, like, I don't know. I found Josia on a platform where she's like, I don't even remember that I have like a profile there or whatever. So, it really was whatever you want to call it, kismet, fate, something, um, synchronicity. But yeah, and really just kind of learned like what it means to feel and not do, and to be and not do, and to balance all of those things and still definitely in that work and supported by by the training and by the groups that we are in together facilitating. I think is just as healing as being facilitated in a lot of cases. And yeah, and I work with Elizabeth as well, and her guidance is magic, for lack of a better word. But yeah, so it's a little bit, I guess, about kind of just the path I feel like I'm still on in finding my way and really being just deeply called to, you know, f support in whatever way, in this case, to facilitate the spaces that brought me out of that deep dark hole, back towards, there's still darkness, but there's also light. It's not all dark. Um, And I was thinking, I was reflecting before our call. I'm in Winnipeg right now in Manitoba, which, um, for those of you who don't know, and probably not if you're not from Canada, but the rivers meet here, and it's still a big train hub, but it's been a huge transportation hub and meeting place of peoples like since time immemorial. So I'm not familiar with all of the nations, but there's Cree and Anishinaabe and OG Cree, and there's several peoples, and the Métis kind of most famously in this area. So Métis are um, settler, indigenous, um, shared ancestry, and it got me thinking just about what an uh, difficult, complicated history colonization is, and the ways that impacts people, which I'm not at home right now, but where I live I live in a majority Indigenous population, that's kind of right on the border of two different signed land claims, which is unusual for North America, but we do have, the few spaces where land claims have been signed. Um, and so that I think is something that has broadened my views on, grief and healing and trauma from this, sort of really like intense personal experience. But then I work at the interface of Indigenous and government wildlife management and in what's called co-management, and just seeing sort of value systems come together and like try to work together, but really, clash, and one is generally oppressing the other, or at least being heard over the other. Um, yeah, so it feels like that's something I'm sort of working with all the time, and in my work life and in my personal life, is how to hold this, this really powerful and meaningful and difficult experience that I'm having, and also hold that there are such bigger processes that are causing like way different um, way different concerns and issues and trauma for other people, and that both are valid. You know, we've spoken to that a few times tonight about that not comparing, and that was part of what I think I had to learn was you know, that whatever I'm going through is valid regardless of it being different than this other I keep wanting to say bigger, but that has that insinuation of like more difficult and more important. But um yeah, so those are sort of like the two, I feel like, you know, my own personal experience and then this constant integration into a system that is just, you know, rigged and colonial and oppressing people, um, are the sort of the entry points in my life into grief and trauma and just general like well-being work. So really happy to be here with all these amazing people that I know and don't know yet, and looking forward to, yeah, getting to know you all better.
Thank you so much. Okay, next up we have Raven. Hi, do you want to just unmute yourself and say hi for a second?
Hello.
So, Raven, after a 20-year career in human services, had an injury resulting in an early medical retirement. And by divine design, this prompted her to seek certification as a death doula and grief guide, most recently completing the Darkwoods Advanced Grief Tending and Ritual Facilitation Training in 2025. Her former career in child and youth care, counseling, and social work focused on decolonizing inequitable systems. As a family engagement liaison within government systems, Raven spent her career examining and advocating to close the unjust cultural gaps faced by minorities. Some of her specializations include cultural program coordination, Indigenous child welfare and wellness, social work, child protection and reunification, wellness and capacity development for resiliency and employment, advanced citations in disability community support for persons with multiple barriers, such as co-occurring disorders, addictions, and mental health. And she is now dedicated to motherhood and creative and wellness practices, including, of course, grief tending. And she supports our Wednesday morning grief and praise sessions alongside Kimber and Adeline, who I will introduce in a bit. So I'll pass it over to you, Raven, to share the more poetic part of your story and journey. Yeah.
You'll see that. I am very humbled and honored to be here and to have found my way to the Darkwoods. I always reference for myself internally that I really, without getting too emotional, I really wanted to come out into the meadow where it was safe and be in the sunshine. And in my, having had a very tumultuous childhood and initiation due to many losses, my bio family, becoming, foster child, losing many siblings in the foster care system, and then becoming a foster parent and losing foster children and colleagues alike. It was, quite the ride. And so, but I never really stopped long enough to fully catch my breath, I think, and let my heartbeat and my heart rate come back into equilibrium. And so by divine intervention, Creator decided that's enough. You're a workaholic, and I worked really steadily from as early as I could without much pause, doing my survival dance, and struggled with fertility for most of my life. And at the same time as becoming medically retired from an injury, I was soon able to conceive. And so it's an interesting thing to have, as we talk about that disenfranchised grief, the loss of your identity and your job and your career, and always having grieved not being able to be with child, and then being with child, and then a whole bunch of grief around grieving all of those years that you thought it wasn't possible, but really it was, and it's just such a complicated process. And so soon thereafter, the last of my bio family passed, and that really initiated me into circles that were more of this nature, in Hearten circles. And I'd been in many groups and connected with many folks over many, many years. In the Western sort of world of clinical counseling, and traditionally through my own ceremonial and ritualistic practices, being a Cree Ojibwe woman from mid-northern Manitoba. When I met with Josiah, the timing was just right, and I can say that it was one of the first times that I felt absolutely safe and entrusted the container in my life. And I stepped in with both feet and had what felt like a really true, safe initiation into revisiting some long-held grievances throughout my life. And so I feel like really quite like a babe in that respect, and very new in my grief, even though I've been carrying it for a really long time. But I can say in the grief facilitation program and the Roots of Ritual, I, for the first time in a long time, came out into the meadow, and I was able to sit down and put that down, and feel the sunshine on my face and remember what it felt like to be alive again. And I had a wonderful moment with Elizabeth in one of her meditations early on, a pre-recorded meditation, where I felt true joy for the first time since COVID. And so that's been some time in the coming. So I just want to thank everybody for showing up and being here today, and honored to be here. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Thank you for being here too. So I want to just again briefly introduce one other person who's not here tonight, which is Adeline, who is the lead facilitator for our Wednesday morning grief and praise sessions, supported by Raven and Kimber on alternate Wednesdays. And Adeline is in France, which is why she's not here tonight, because it's like 3 a.m. there or something right now. So she is a wild woman and lover of nature and big adventures. She came to Canada in 2018 to complete the Wisdom of the Earth Wilderness School immersion program. And through this training, she became a mentor for children in deep nature connection, and discovered that grieving is necessarily a part of healing and coming into deeper connection with nature, each other, and ourselves. Upon returning home to France, when she completed the program, she lost her dear mother, who she was very, very close with. And the depths of this grief led her to return to the path of grief work and to Canada to complete the 2024 Darkwoods Advanced Grief Tending and Ritual Facilitation Training. And she's been with us again for going on 2 years as an intern. And she holds grief circles both online and in person in France. And is the lead facilitator for our Wednesday morning grief circles, supported by Kimber and Raven. So that's Adeline, who, some of you may have met, or you will meet if you join our grief support group and come to the Wednesday morning sessions. Okay, now we will go next to Susan. Can you unmute yourself and say hi?
Hello.
So Susan brings a unique depth to grief work, drawing from decades as a registered nurse specializing in newborn intensive care and lactation, combined with advanced training in pre and perinatal somatic psychology, energy medicine, and biodynamic craniosacral therapy. She completed the Darkwoods Advanced Grief Tending and Ritual Facilitation training just this past year in 2025. And her work, yeah, I'm gonna say a little bit more about her because this is such a powerful thing that is just, I think, really coming into the Darkwoods model more fully now with you coming in. Her work sits at a powerful intersection. She understands that how we navigate grief is deeply rooted in our earliest experiences. For years, she has helped new mothers and babies heal from challenging births and medical interventions, usually using somatic tools to create safety for overwhelmed nervous systems. When babies are given space to tell their birth stories, to express frustration, rage, or sadness, they develop resilient coping mechanisms that shape how they'll process trauma and loss throughout their lives. This foundational understanding informs Susan's grief facilitation work. She knows that when we experience traumatic loss later in life, those early imprinted patterns resurface. Just as newborns need safe, attuned holding to process their birth trauma, grieving adults need safety and security in their holding and witnessing. Susan creates that compassionate container where grief stories can be shared, emotions can move through the body, and the whole self can be honored through the pain of sorrow. Susan is passionate about bringing her somatic expertise to those walking the often lonely and misunderstood path of grief, offering the same deep presence and nervous system attunement that she has long provided to the newest and most vulnerable among us. So to you, my dear.
Thank you. Yeah. Wow. What a group. I'm so honored to be a part of this group. Yeah, as my bio states, I have worked mainly with, newborns and families. I've worked within the birth process and the beginning of life. And I don't know, never thought I would be working in the grief world. And life had a different message for me. I often, yeah, I think we often get kind of pushed into what we need to do. So I think starting in like 2020 is when a lot of things started unraveling for me in my life. And the biggest one was my marriage and really relationship with my husband, and with COVID and everybody coming home for work. Me and my sons, my adult sons, were all living together, working under the same roof, and realized my husband had a serious drinking problem. So in the process of that time period, I also lost my parents and some good friends and my mentor, Ray Castellino, with the pre and perinatal somatic psychology program that I had just entered into. Was learning about birth trauma and our birth imprints. And so this stabilizing force in my life that was always my husband, my life partner for 40 years, we ended up getting divorced. And it finalized in 2024 and January 2024, and I was not doing very well with it. So a friend of mine, a massage therapist friend of mine, knew Josea's work, and she recommended her to me. And I looked at it and signed on because I was like, yeah, I need something. And again, as other people have stated, divorce is not seen as big grief work necessarily, but it really was, the loss of my future, this dissolving of this 33-year marriage, 40-year relationship, my life partner, my whole adult life. And I would find a letter or, just something from him, and it would just break me. So I remember talking to Josiah and saying, is this the right group? Is this the right place for me? Because this is divorce, it's not death. And she welcomed me into the group, and it was such a safe place. And I think from the moment I stepped into those grief and praise groups, and recognized all the somatic tools that are being used, and truly the level of safety, and it was everything I had learned in the pre and perinatal world. And it just felt so beautiful. It was like coming home to this beautiful space. So, and then 2 months into it, my then now ex-husband died suddenly from his alcohol abuse. And it was a shock and a trauma. And I was so very grateful that I was already in this group and getting the support that I needed. I think I probably came to every single group available during that time period. And, stepping into other widow groups and I've experienced a lot of different grief groups now. And I just feel like nothing holds the space like the structure of these groups. It's really profound. Yeah, I highly recommend. It's been a really lovely journey for me. And then I just wanted to name too that, I kind of did all the things. I stepped in initially just with the grief and praise and the online learning. And then I wanted an in-person retreat. So I did the retreat. And then that's when it was like a late night hot tub discussion with me and Josiah, and talking about the pre and perinatal and how that could be interwoven into this grief work and just the similarities of the somatic pieces. It really intrigued me for doing the facilitation training, but I needed some gentle nudging, and then joined the facilitation training, and I'm so grateful I did. It's really beautiful work, and yeah, again, humbled but excited to be here amongst all these wonderful people. So, and great to meet everybody on the call, hopefully, in a grief and praise group.
Thank you so much. Yay. Okay, and I think lastly, but certainly not least, I'm going to go to Tisha. You want to unmute yourself and say hi, my dear?
Hello, everyone. So good to be here.
So, born on the bayou, Tisha has been shaped by listening closely, listening to people, to nature, and to what unfolds when words are lost. And her connection to nature is so palpable, as you will feel when she speaks, I think. She holds a Master of Social Work from the University of Maryland, Baltimore. Since graduating, her path has unfolded through a rich blend of training and lived experience. This includes case management and support group facilitation for people living with HIV and AIDS at the Whitman Walker Clinic in Northern Virginia, completing a mindfulness meditation teacher certification with Tara Brock and Jack Cornfield. And she is a graduate of our 2025 Roots of Ritual Grief Tending Foundations program. And for the past 15 years, she has shared deep companionship with animals in her role as a professional dog walker. And since completing the Roots of Ritual training, has begun shifting back to working with, or should I say walking with, humans. Pass it to you, my dear, to share more.
Oh man, thanks for that laugh. It's I definitely needed that to relax a little bit. So thank you. I'm very moved right now by this gathering, and I am honoring that space that I feel is just very soft right now. So just bear with me. What's really alive for me right now is the ancestral grief that I am feeling, walking in 2025 and having it sometimes feel like I am my mother walking in 1965. Not knowing which spaces are safe, which people are safe. Not in this group because I know this group is safe, but I talk to so many people, friends, others that just feel that there is so much happening right now that just does not feel safe. And that is in my bones right now. And so I am here because I have been listening to my heart ache and my own tears. And I have been able to create space for them to just completely break my heart wide open. Because carrying the grief of my grandparents, the grief of my parents, the grief of everything that's broken right now in this world is it's just too heavy. And so I have, yeah, just learned to allow myself to let my heart break and sob at the just the sadness of it all, really. But when I learned to kind of sit in that heartbreak, I also was able to see the world in a light that was almost like that golden hour where you learn to, or you find like in the mornings and dusk at dusk or dawn, where just like the light is so perfect and everything is beautiful. And I learned that only by kind of being so deeply connected with what was hurting me that I was able to see that everything was really just still so beautiful too. But my grandparents didn't have access to a space like this. They didn't have access to spaces where they could be vulnerable and not perfect, and feel okay. I feel okay right now being vulnerable and crying. I feel safe. They didn't have that privilege. And so that's really alive for me right now. Yeah, it's really alive for me. But I welcome all of it. I find myself sometimes moving through these tears and heartbreak, and they go on their way, and I'm able to look around and see that the world is still, it still has really beautiful people in it, and that I'm going to be okay. So I welcome all of my experience, and what I learned in this Dark Woods of Grief facilitation program is that it allows all forms of grief to breathe. It allows space for all of the forms of grief to breathe. And that is just not something that you find out here in the world. It's just not there. And so I just really value Josia and like each one of you that I've come to know through this program. And I just want this for everyone. I just want it for everyone. And the more of us out there doing this work, the easier it will be for them to find us. So that is what's on my heart. That's what I wanted to share. I'm in Maryland. I am working as a grief and trauma therapist. I love nature. I could live outside. So most of my work is walking in nature. So I do walking sessions and virtual, but I really prefer the walking. So thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm like, phew. I'm not going to try to follow that up with saying anything wise and profound. But I was just like, wow, thank you so much. I'm like, yeah, just chills, and really grateful for your words, your wisdom, and your vulnerability. Thank you so much. I am going to try to follow it up though. I'm going to make an attempt. So yeah, I mean, I feel like enough said, like, so there's so much that's been shared. You get the picture. This is the vibe in here. It's not about getting over it. It's not about moving on. It's not about, getting back to work or the way life was before, or downplaying how you're feeling. It's because that doesn't work. In over 25 years of experience, I have never seen someone heal by doing any of those things, by getting over it. It's just not how it works. But what I always say also is that in order to get to a place like what Tisha and many other people are naming as that I loved how you named it, that luminescent, that I can't remember the word to use, but that dusk and dawn, that like golden light, the golden hour. Yeah. To get to that place, which I think of as like receiving the medicine that's within our grief, it needs a regular container, like somewhere we can go to do the work. It needs a regular practice. We need to be working with it regularly. We need to be letting ourselves break out, our hearts break open regularly. And we need a container because it's a wild place when you step into grief. It's like, it can take us over. And so to be in a community where there's support, there's co-regulation, there's structure is really, really powerful. And yeah. And then also the skills, right? And so we work with different somatic skills to teach how to be able to go to that wild place and come back again, right? Because it is a skill, actually. It is. But with that right container and support, grief and pain will transmute into wisdom, into gifts, into a deeper connection with spirit, into that that golden hour place, because it just does. It's like it's inevitably going to. And I know it can feel far away or even impossible when you're in deep grief, but I've seen it just like again and again and again and again with commitment, consistent work. You build the strength in your nervous system for this to not only be not to just be possible, but it's actually inevitable. And so I want to just very briefly, I want to open it up for questions, but just very briefly want to introduce you to some of our offerings, which are specifically designed for this purpose. So we have basically three things open for enrollment right now. We have our Return from the Underworld course, which is a 12-week somatic and soul journey that's designed to soothe deep ongoing grief. It's also designed to give you some like baseline somatic and ritual skills to be able to, work with your grief on a regular basis. The practices merge ancient wisdom with, somatic work, which is very more like modern, but also ancient in a way. And it's designed to bring solace and a sense of healing to your relationship with grief, because we don't heal grief, but we heal our relationship with it, right? We learn to walk alongside it as Francis Weller says, like as a companion rather than an enemy. And this is definitely, whether you're working with, major loss, death, disenfranchised grief, whether it's a recent loss or a long-held grief or trauma, it's very effective work. What else to say about this? I'll let you ask questions maybe to open it up rather than, going on and on about it. But so we have that course open for enrollment. And then we really do strongly recommend here. I created that course basically because I was having so many people come in who just like weren't ready for the community aspect of things. Because sometimes you're not, right? Sometimes you come in and you're like, well, I really want support, but I'm just like not ready to be with people yet. And I think that's true for like maybe 50% of people who come in here. So I created that course as a way that you can access the skills without having to, come into the group yet. But we do also have an amazing grief support group, which, as you've seen, our team of incredible facilitators. It's a very powerful structure that we work with. So there's a lot of, structure and holding around it. So it's not just like, blah, it's like really a very powerful process that we move through in each session. And we call the sessions grief and praise sessions. And then Elizabeth's meditation group is a part of that grief support group as well. And then we also have an online community forum where you can post and share and comment on each other's posts and receive support that way as well. That's open 24/7. And there's like almost always somebody in there. So if you share or reach out, it's likely you'll get response pretty quickly. And at least like within the day. And I think, we really are meant to grieve in community. We're meant to be with each other through this. We're not meant to be isolated and alone. So yeah, it's a very powerful place to be. What else? Yeah. So the invitation is to come exactly as you are. Membership for that is 125 US a month, minimum commitment 3 months. And there's 5 sessions per month, including the meditation session, 2 Monday evenings and 2 Wednesday mornings. If that's like way out of reach for you financially, you can always apply for a partial scholarship. We try to definitely, make sure that anybody that really wants to be there can be there. Yeah, and if you join the Return from the Underworld course as well as the grief support group is $97 per month, and the Return from the Underworld course is $397 one-time fee, or you can pay that over payments as well. And then the last thing that I want to mention is our 2026 Roots of Ritual Grief Tending Foundations Facilitation Training, which is currently open for enrollment. We begin in March 24th. And so if you're somebody who's already holding space for others as, maybe a therapist, coach, body worker, yoga teacher, group facilitator, or you've walked through the dark woods of grief yourself and emerged with a calling to support others, and maybe, people trust you naturally, they're approaching you already with their stories, their grief, but you can kind of feel yourself like, I don't know, like maybe you're facilitating groups, but you're kind of keep the intensity dialed down. You don't want to like really open up a space because you're just not sure you can hold what might emerge. Yeah, and you want to really cultivate that like unshakable presence where you can hold transformation without contracting, where you can just feel confident to be able to meet whatever arises in the space. And also, if you'd love to be held yourself in a circle of other practitioners who aren't afraid of being with their grief, then yeah, this training it's a very powerful program, as you've heard a bit from some of our facilitators, their experience in it. And yeah, we've got I think we have like 28 spots. We're taking 40 people this year, and we've got 28 spots left, and we start in March. So okay, let's open it up for questions now. So I'm going to go to the chat thread and see. Oh, wow, we have lots. Okay, great. Monique, yes. But you don't really, because there's medicine in it. Okay, I'm just going to scroll and see if I can find questions that were posted earlier. And feel free to either raise your hand or post questions in the chat if you have a question right now. Yeah. Yeah, so Elizabeth's meditation class is a part of the grief support group. So if you are a member of the grief support group, yeah, Elizabeth already answered your question. Yeah, great. Oh yeah, I'll post the link. After leaving here, I will send you an email tonight, and it is actually in the email that, let me see. I have sent out a few emails with links, but I'll send out an email tonight after you leave with the links for all 3 of those programs. So yeah, Gina, go ahead.
I think can you hear me okay?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Okay, I was trying to figure out how to lower my hand. That's like the hardest part for me on this. I'm interested in your facilitator program, but I know that I'm not, it's not a good time yet for me.
Okay.
And I was wondering if it's something that you offer like a couple times a year or just once a year. Also, do you do, I know a group of people, I think that did a group of like a retreat with you, maybe in Carmel. I'm in California.
Okay.
And so I was
Yeah.
just wondering if you could speak to a few of those things because I'd like to do it. I just know I'm not well enough with my own grief. I'm a professional, but I'm not in my professional capacity in this program at this time.
Yeah, for sure. Totally. Well, and it's good to be real with ourselves, right? About like where, and like to give yourself lots of space to not push yourself to, onto the next thing. So I really honor that. Yeah. And so typically we run the program once a year, in the spring. There's a possibility we'll run a fall cohort. Like if we're full and if there's a demand for it, then there's a possibility we'll run a fall cohort. I'm not sure at the moment, but I'll definitely let you know as soon as I know. But if not, then yeah, spring 2027 would be the next one for sure. It's definitely a regular yearly thing for sure. So, and what was the other question about retreats or?
Yeah, do you think you'll be offering another I don't know if it's just for facilitators or if it's for anyone. But I heard you did a retreat in like maybe Carmel, and I live in California, so I was thinking I was interested in that, and I was just wondering what if you do that
Yeah,
more.
totally. Yeah. I have been quite afraid to go to the States since since the last
Okay,
year,
I got
basically. Yeah.
yeah.
So undetermined at this point, but yeah, just because I'm very vocal about my politics online and I don't it would really yeah, I
Yeah.
think yeah, it would really mess up my life to
I
get
would much
something.
rather I would much rather be in Canada, so don't worry. I get you on that one. Oh.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
yeah, we're actually looking at possibly Costa Rica for our next retreat. So yeah, Kimber and I are kind
And that
of
would that be for like facilitators only, or could that be a facilitator training, or could that be for anybody training or
I think most likely Costa Rica would be a public retreat. Yeah, so like anybody kind
cool.
of yeah. And then we're looking at Salt Spring Island for the facilitator training retreat. So yeah, we're yeah, because the Roots of Ritual training doesn't have retreats, but we will have a level 2 training as well that will have one or possibly several retreats. So we're just in the process of developing that right now. It used to be that the program was a full year and there was 3 retreats throughout the year, but yeah, we're separating it as a level 1 and 2 now to make it a lot more accessible for people to do the level 1. They don't have to travel 3 times. So yeah, so it's been really exciting to shift that way. So yes, we will, but we'll definitely keep you updated. As long as you're on the newsletter mailing list, you'll be the first to hear about retreats. You can actually, on the webpage right now, there's also a sign up for if you want to get on the waiting list for our next retreat, then you would be like the first person to find out.
Oh, okay.
So if you
Cool.
if you go to the retreat page, you'll see that that
Awesome.
sign up. Yeah,
It'd be
cool.
nice to see you outside of a box.
100%. You too.
All right.
Same.
Okay.
Yeah, I love
Thanks.
the retreats. It's so nice to be together in person.
Thank you.
You're so welcome. Thank you. Okay, poems. Yes, I will send out the poems after Carolyn for sure. Oh, Sanaz already put one of them. Are the support groups ongoing or do we have to sign up at specific dates? Yeah, it's an ongoing membership, so you can join at any point. Yeah, and then just minimum commitment of 3 months. So yeah, because we like to have it open for, it's like when you need the support group, you need the support group. So we don't want to make people wait. Yeah, Jamie's just saying the retreat last year is the one thing I did for myself that really opened me up to starting the grieving process. Yeah, it can be so good to just really drop it. Like the retreats are such a deep dive, right? To be in person together. So Senora Miller is asking about price for which one? Which thing? For the grief support group, are you asking about Senora Miller? And while yes, okay, cool. Yeah, so the price is $125 US per month as a membership. So once you sign up, it's an ongoing subscription and you just pay it until there's a minimum 3 months commitment. If you decide you want to cancel, hi Marnie, cool. Yeah, I just saw your name is Senora Miller. I like Senora, it's great. Yeah, and so if you want to cancel, you just send us an email 7 days before your next renewal date, and then we cancel it. And like I said before, yeah, we have partial scholarships available for lower income folks. So if that is like totally out of range for you, you can always apply for a partial scholarship. But we also love when people pay in full because it supports us to be able to continue offering the scholarships as well. So yeah, no worries. Okay, and then Monique is asking about the structure. Yeah, great question. So basically when you come into the group, we do a short opening meditation, which will be different depending on who's facilitating, but similar to what we did today in terms of like, yeah, about 4 or 5 minutes, kind of just dropping in somatically together. And then we do a check-in. So depending on the size of the group, I don't know, Jane, how big of the groups have been, like maybe 10, 15 people lately on the Monday evenings? Yeah. So if there's more than 8 people, then we do breakout rooms for the check-ins. So you get put in a smaller group. If it's like 6 to 8 people, then we just stay in the main room all together. And but the check-in is also structured. So we invite you to share something you're grateful for, and it can be super small, but just something to bring in that gratitude. And then what are you struggling with in that moment on that day? What do you want to share about your struggle on that day, or what you're grieving? So grief and gratitude in the check-in. And then we do a writing practice with a prompt. And it's a practice that comes from Francis Weller. The prompts are very powerful, and the practice is designed to, be able to kind of support your grief to move, but in a gentle, pendulated way. And then after the writing practice, we share with either the whole group or in our breakout rooms again. And it's always optional to share. It's always, I will say, like, everything is optional. Like, if you're like, oh, I don't want to do that, totally fine. You can sit out, you can just listen, it's all good. But the process is that, so you share your writing, you read your writing or a part of it to your group. And then we go into a movement practice. So we could call it dance, we could call it gentle movement. It's really like what your body calls for you to do to support moving the energy that has been brought forward through your writing practice. And this is really powerful because I think a lot of times when we open up grief, it's kind of like, well, now what? What do I do with all this energy that's moving in my body now, And so having the invitation to like really feel into your body, like, how does the body want to move? Do you want to shake? Do you want to lay on the floor and just like be quiet? Do you want to just like sway with the music? Do you want to, get up and really rock out and like dance, or just really listening to your body? It's very powerful to move the energy in the way that it wants to move. So, and we've had people come in who I'm thinking of this one guy who, I swear to God, he had never danced in his entire life. He was like, I don't know about, and like by like the end of the first session, he was just like, okay, like, because you can turn your video off if you want to. It's not a performance. It's just really getting into your body and moving. And then we do an integration circle. So just sharing how you're feeling at that point after the movement. And there's no expectation that you're supposed to be feeling great or anything like that. It's just whatever is there. But typically people do feel a lot better at that point in the session. It's quite effective. So that is the structure. Yeah. Cool. Anybody else questions, or anybody want to add anything to what I shared? Yeah, you're so welcome. You're so welcome. Oh yeah, so the grief and praise sessions in the grief support group are 2 hours. So typically the Monday evenings are 5 to 7 p.m. Pacific, which would be 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern time. And the Wednesday mornings are 10 a.m. to noon Pacific time. So that would be 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. Eastern time. And then the meditation circle is 90 minutes, right, Elizabeth? Yeah, approximately. Yeah, but starting at 5:30 p.m. Pacific or 8:30 p.m. Eastern. Yeah. Cool. No worries, Linda. That's okay. You can go back. I'll be sending out the recording later, so you can catch the earlier part. Yeah, you're so welcome. Yeah, I'm glad you could come, Jamie. Great. Yeah. Anybody else? Questions or comments? Maybe we'll open up for comments now as well. If you want to just unmute yourself and share anything that, what you're taking away from tonight, or how you're feeling. Yeah. Don't be shy. Or be shy if you want to, I guess. It's fine.
Hi, I'm Crystal. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Hi, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Thank you all for sharing. I've been been processing a lot of grief, that it's like this unprocessed grief that I've been holding from my ancestors for many, many years, and the unprocessed grief from my childhood experiences, some of those early adaptations for my survival. And all of this came out of from the death of my husband of 26 years. When he died, is when I started doing the work. But the disenfranchised grief, and I had a period of like 6 things happen all at once. And so I guess it was what I've been doing is process like complex grief, processing, trying to be able to catch my breath. Like it was like one thing after the other, I was like, whoa, whoa. And I was in a really deep, dark, I was at the depths of like darkness. And I've just been slowly, sprouting from that and growing. And yeah, I can relate to what your whole team shared in so many ways. It's nice. This is a nice little container to be in. But I can relate to a lot of what was shared about grieving the earth. I mean, I've been grieving the earth, the destruction of the earth from a very early age. But my ancestors, before me, they were, grieving a lot of that too, because they were stripped away from their homes and they were silenced, and could not process that grief. So I was carrying a lot of that on my shoulders. I mean, and I've been working on releasing that into the earth through that golden hour. Somebody mentioned golden hour. There's like a golden hour. It's a great time to release it, is in that golden hour. It's like, so I've been working on that, releasing that grief into the earth during the golden hour, and then offering gratitude because just to be alive, because honestly, I almost died 3 times in my grief. It was that dark. But I'm grateful to be, coming out of it and just see it as an amazing teacher and see it as really as medicine. It's like the stories that we share are medicine for each other. So, I mean, this is really great. This is I'm just happy you're here and sharing this. And thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing a little bit of your story as well, because I think that's helpful for people to hear, the journey. It's a journey, right? And yeah. Are you thinking of joining us in the grief support group?
I'm interested in learning and seeing more how it works, like the form, entering. I've been doing a lot. I've joined a lot of different grief support groups within the community, but the piece that is missing is the body piece, like the somatic piece, and the because it's all my nervous system has had to unravel. I've had to, so the nervous system is just missed, like within all these groups, I think, because it's all talk, but there's no like somatic work. But I started working with a somatic person like just recently, and she just kind of feels like these like pieces are just kind of coming, like these people are just showing up. I got referred to her, and it's been like magic. So I've been working on that with my body, doing the somatic stuff with her, so that it's good stuff. So I like the holistic feel of this, where you're not just, where you're addressing the whole body, mind, and spirit. Yeah. So I am very interested. Thank you.
Beautiful. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, and I mean, you're making me think too of like, I think it's important to recognize, and I'm sure you get this, that it's like, this, and I think what's so beautiful about these grief and praise sessions is that it's one, it's not just grief, like it is, and yes, and it's like profoundly transformative when you're really in the depths of the struggle, like when you're really, really in that place, these sessions are powerful for that. And these sessions are also like, I almost think of it as like, it's like maintenance, you know what I mean? It's like, because there's always so much. Well, for one thing, there's always so much happening, like especially if we're connected to what's happening in the world. And I mean, even just in our own communities, but it's also like, the more we recognize, it's like you're talking about your ancestors, the more we recognize, and then it's like, oh, there's also that. And it's not like we have to like be diving down this deep, dark spiral all the time. It's not like that, but it's more just like, wow, how much more free could I be? I could be even more liberated, if I like work with that piece and that piece. And, so to have a space where you can come in and touch into the pieces that are ready to move in that moment on any given day, and also connect with gratitude, and also connect with the energy that's generated when we move that energy. It's like Joanna Macy says, grief is like oxygen, because you really do feel like this lightness that comes in when you move the energy in a good way, which is different than crying alone. Like it really is. It's so different. It's so different. And we're so taught that that's what we're supposed to do, is we're supposed to just like isolate and not show and like do it by ourselves, which it just doesn't move the energy in the way that it needs to. So cool. Thank you for your share, Crystal. And yeah, I hope to see you. Well, I won't see you personally in the group, but I'll see you in the online community forum, and you will get to be with these amazing folks. So yeah. Yay. Yeah, go back to Gina.
I feel a little selfish for sharing again, and that's my own issue. But I just wanted to say, my last book was on trauma and adversity, and I didn't know how much I hadn't processed my trauma. I had talked about my trauma, and there's a big difference. And I also, as a therapist, and as people, we are a very grief naive society and a very grief intolerant society.
Yeah.
And I am starting to see those things. Like my mom dropped dead of a brain aneurysm a year ago, and my life completely fell apart, and all the unresolved childhood trauma came back a few months later, and then all the lifetime trauma that I experienced because it's like a domino.
Yeah.
It continues because you keep making choices that aren't necessarily the best for you. And it is like, I have to tell you, the first two, I'm in your grief group now, thank God, or like God in the universe way,
Yeah.
not,
Okay.
yeah. But the first time they had us dance, if you haven't taken the grief group, I turned my video off. I don't dance in front of the screen yet. I'm not quite comfortable with that yet. But it was like freedom, like literal freedom. Like my body was like freedom. And I thought, okay, this is gonna be hokey. This is like not gonna be for me. Like, and now I have like downloaded the first playlist onto my own, not to Spotify, but to my own iTunes, whatever. And it's it's like, when you like know where you're exactly where you're supposed to be. Like it's like that. And like I wrote, I have no idea how I found you. I really, really don't. And I did a Andrew Weller training, so maybe like somehow but I still don't think that's it, because he didn't. I just don't think so. So I'm always gonna wonder that, and I think it's better I don't know. I think it's funner not knowing. And but I just think that it's just amazing. I have to just tell you, so there's someone on here that's one of your teachers that took my training. I teach mostly for teens, and not a lot of teens go through grief of like like there's not a lot. I didn't know shit about grief except like a book in grad school. And someone in here has taken my professional training twice, and I'm like, I'm a mess. I'm an absolute mess. And I feel like you have to be broken open, and I've been broken open many times and put back together, and I've always been resilient and perseverant and all of those great, wonderful things. But there's a time where like it was just enough. Like I had been a certain way for my whole life, and then it was just like, okay, enough. My body was like, I give. And it's like it's taking the time to rebuild, and it's going to take the time it takes, and it sucks, but I have the faith that there will be something better on the other side. Otherwise, I would have killed myself, because I did think about doing that,
Yeah.
which I hadn't before. And so, and it's me taking the leap of faith that there's going to be something better out there after. There's going to be joy again. There's going to be hope again, life again, a different life than I planned, something maybe I never better than I planned. And what's great is by being on the other side for a change. Well, I've always been on the other side, but on the other side of the grief part, it will help me with my work too. And so that's why I'm excited about your facilitator training too when I'm ready, but I know I'm not. I think it's important to also know when you're ready for something, and it's a
Yeah.
gift, because the somatic body part is like, we're here, we're all here. Like that's what we're trained to be, and we're
Yes.
not trained to be anywhere else. And like
Exactly.
I've been like, I feel like I made a joke about this. Like I need to be a human like smudge stick. I need like to be covered in sage. Like I need to be the sage bush. Okay.
Yeah.
I just wanted to share, because it's like from the
Mhm.
very first night you offered something before Christmas, and I was like, holy shit. It's like it's you can't be it's like all the gears just fit.
Mhm.
And so for anyone who's doubting like whether they should join the grief group, like why not? You know, like what do you have to lose except to learn something? And if you don't, for me, learning, life is about learning, and we should never stop learning. So I can't endorse you enough. And I also have the privilege of working with Jane right now, which is a gift beyond a gift. And I just love her to pieces, and I don't even know her that well, but she's an amazing human. So you have some amazing people on your staff. So I just wanted to take the time to thank you, and thank you for letting me dance. I hadn't danced in over a year. I moved.
Thank you so much. What a beautiful testimonial. Wow, did not expect that. So thank you so much. Yeah, what she said. Okay, so I just want to acknowledge that it is 7 o'clock, but I'm willing to definitely stay on for a few more minutes and just answer any other questions. I saw Caroline was sharing in the chat. I'd love to talk to you before you leave if you want, no pressure. But I will stay. Maybe a few of the team will stay, but I know some people probably need to jump off, like Elizabeth and anyone who's on Eastern time, maybe, and just yeah. So love you all. But yeah, I'll stick around for a few more minutes and keep answering questions. Oh, where did Kathy go? Oh, there you are. Yeah. Do you want to, yeah, I'll just say thank you so much for anyone who needs to leave now. And we'll hopefully see you in the grief support group, and then we'll go to Kathy. Yeah.
I just wanted to say thank you for even bringing up the issue about missing a cat or a dog or an animal. That loss can be as deep and as painful as losing a person. I had a cat for 18 years, and she was my brother's at first, and he doted over that cat like, not that he wouldn't let me play with her, but my dad abandoned my mother and brother and I when I was about 8. And my brother went into the service, and then Panther, that's what her name was, became mine. And so she was the constant in my life, because I was sent to live with my mother's sister and then back with my mother and back and forth like that. And it wasn't until several years later that I saw YouTube by a vet who basically euthanized animals that needed to be euthanized, and really ministered to the owners. And watching that video, I just cried and cried and cried because I finally mourned the loss of Panther. Because, as I say, people say, oh, well, it's just a cat. No, it's just a dog. No, not at all. When they are so much a part of you and part of a family, that's, and I hesitate sometimes to even say how much I miss that cat because I have to be careful about who I share that with.
Totally.
Because they would think, well, you know what they would think. So thank you for somebody bringing that up about an animal that we grieve so much for our pet friends.
Yeah, well, I mean, and especially in your case, but I mean, often there are our primary attachment person, actually, and especially in the case with you, she would have been your primary attachment.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. So it's really important to acknowledge for sure. Thank you so much for sharing, and thank you for being here. Yeah. Jamie, go ahead. I saw you were asking about the meeting days for the facilitator training. Is that what you wanted to ask?
Yes. He's like,
Yeah.
just send an email and
Yeah.
it came back to my head.
Totally, because you were one of the first people to enroll, so we didn't have, so it's going to be 11, so Pacific time, it's going to be 11 a.m. And then we'll have a second cohort on 4 p.m., both on Tuesdays. And the dates are all on the website. But yeah, I'm going to send out an email soon anyways,
Okay.
because I want to make sure that I have everybody in the right cohort so I know how much space we have left in each cohort as well. So
Do you know when your guys' time changes? Because mine will eventually line up with yours when your time changes.
Oh.
So I don't change time at all.
Right. I would just Google it. I would have to Google it to tell you. So
Okay.
Pacific time change.
I just assumed everyone that had time changes knew.
No, I only usually know the day before or sometimes the day of. Yeah, that's where I'm at. Yeah. Cool, thank you. Okay, just going back to the chat.
It's March 8th.
Oh, thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
Raven just mentioned, is there a financial flexibility for, because obviously we have scholarships available for the grief and praise sessions for anyone, but we will have different pricing for the BIPOC only group. And BIPOC folks, so it's Black, Indigenous people of color, will be welcome to, when they join, you can join and come to only that monthly session if you want, or you're welcome to come to all the sessions. And the pricing will be, it'll be different just because probably lots of folks will only go to that group. And we also just want to honor the process of reparations and acknowledgement of the systems of oppression that we're living in. So the BIPOC pricing is going to be $20 to $40 sliding scale per month. Cool. Let me see. Caroline, is it Caroline or Carolyn? You're muted.
Do you mean me?
Yeah, you.
Okay. Hold on one.
Sure. Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh,
yeah, sorry, everything is crashing. So, did I raise my hand or I was gonna...
No, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm having a lot of difficulties right now. I had a question. I think it was brought up before, but I wasn't sure. If also with grief, if you're touching on, in the support groups and stuff, if it's also touching on, when you have health problems on top of everything, when you have lost people and everything. That's also somebody has stolen your life and basically chewed on it and spit it back on to you.
Yeah.
And there's nothing left.
Yeah.
So the reason why I'm asking that too, because I am with programs like with regulating the nervous system and learning about traumas, and I have high ACEs, like childhood traumas and everything. And how pretty much 99% of the people in the group have, a lot of traumas, and they know now that people have a lot of illnesses,
Mhm. Yeah.
people that have past traumas. So I was just, I'm rambling on, but I was wondering if you guys touch on that, because nobody really talks about it in our groups. There are tools, which is great, and you're learning, but it takes also a lot of time.
Yes, totally. Yeah, no, that's a great question. Yeah, so definitely the way that we work in this group is really acknowledging and working with what I call complex grief, which is when our grief is layered with trauma. And that is true for a lot of people. And so we just make that the baseline, is like we just recognize that most likely a lot of people are going to be coming in with at least some level of trauma as well. And then some, of course, more than others. But the structure that we have created is really designed with that in mind. So we're working with, like, you might have heard the term pendulation or titration in some of the other work. So that's very much a huge part of kind of the baseline of the structure of the grief and praise sessions. And it's designed to be it's a process-based group, right? So it's like, yeah, I mean, I think there's probably some learning that takes place, but it's definitely not so much like a workshop or like a learning. It's much more process-based. It's designed for you to come and be there and be with whatever's alive in you and work with that in real time, in community. And I think that honestly, I mean, I hesitate to use this word because I don't want you to think that it's not also like very deep and that there's not space for, to feel the grief and the suffering in a deep way, because there absolutely is. And I think it's a lot more fun than a lot of these other spaces that you might end up in, because we dance, it's like we dance, we move, it's praise as well as grief, right? We're not just going into the trauma, into the grief. We're also remembering gratitude, and not in a forced way, just in a like, find something, and bring that into your somatic experience, right? So I don't know if that answers your.
Yes, and I'm I'm a little brain fogged right now, tired, but there's like, you do a lot of programs and things, and like I said, you adding on to tools and things that you're learning and trying to implement them into your toolbox. But there is always, at least for me, it feels like there is one big puzzle piece missing for me. And I know that it has to do with like a lot of traumas, and somebody brought it up before, maybe it was you, but I remember that when you're hitting hard times and grieving, then old traumas, the surface, and especially if they haven't been really dealt with.
Yes.
Like, and oh, I hit a nerve.
Just let yourself feel that. It's okay. Take your time.
Yeah.
Take your time.
And I haven't actually cried for a really long time either. I kind of go right now from anger to numbness a lot. And somebody said to me the other day, and I didn't really know how to feel about it, but that I cannot have ancestral trauma because I'm a white person.
Oh.
And yeah, I could curse here in another language, but you know what I mean? Like, I thought, what do you know? What do you know about me and my life and my parents and my grandparents' trauma that they have gone through?
Everyone has ancestral trauma.
Yeah. So, and there's a lot of those layers that are sort of, brought up.
Yeah,
And
I mean, white people wouldn't be perpetuating oppression on other people if they didn't have their own ancestral trauma that there is unprocessed, right?
yeah,
So we all have it, and you know, it sounds like whoever said that was probably in their own grief, you know, and projecting, which is happens. Um, but it's yeah, I think that's another thing, as it's been spoken to by other people tonight too. I think that's part of what makes this space really special is that it's like it's all welcome. You know, bring it all, whatever you're working on that day, you know, it could be anything, you know, bring that.
yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
And I haven't been on Facebook for a really long time, like years and years, especially during COVID and stuff. And I lost like 7 people and during those years as well. And I just happen to go on Facebook now these days too, and that's where I found you, the Darkwood Grief.
Oh, cool. Oh, that's awesome.
Sometimes Facebook can be, social media can be good for things like that. And I think when the serendipity, when you're ready, the universe will show you the way. So yeah. So thank you for having me today. And I've been listening to everybody sharing. I just had to kind of close my eyes and listen. So thank you.
Beautiful. Thanks for bringing your voice into the room, and look forward to maybe seeing you in our community space.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. I'm just going to mute you. Oh, you already muted yourself. Perfect. Okay. I feel like Linda, I feel like I saw you had a question, and now the chat thread is just getting so inundated I can't find it. Is that true that I think you're unmuted if you want to just speak it. Or maybe you didn't have a question, I don't know.
Hello, I'm not sure how you work this.
Oh yeah,
Can you
no,
hear me?
you're good. I can hear you. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I just want to know if the recording is sent through email, because obviously I missed most of it. So does the recording come through email?
Oh yeah. You must be the one in Australia, yeah?
Yeah, I am. Yeah. It's daytime over here.
Right, morning there. Yeah, cool. Well, nice to
Yeah.
meet you. Yeah, I'll send it via email. Probably
Oh,
tomorrow.
thank you.
Honestly, now I'll probably send it tomorrow because I'm getting to the point where I'm like, I gotta
That's
go
fine.
Ethan take care of myself. But
I understand.
yeah, I'll send the
All right.
recording and the program links and everything like that out tomorrow. I will put the website link in the chat thread here, just for those of you that are like, I need to read more right now, or maybe sign up tonight.
Thank you.
Or I'll put the grief support group link right in the chat. Just let me pull that up. Here we go. Okay. And then once you're there, you'll be like on the website, and you can look at other programs if you want to as well that are in the menu. So yeah, so if you want to grab that link now, feel free. But then otherwise, yeah, I'll email it out tomorrow as well. So
Perfect. Thank you.
yeah, you're so welcome. Cool. Anybody else? Question, comment, concern? As well. Oh, beautiful group. So nice to meet you all, or some of you. And yeah. And Monique says, I don't know how I got here either. Yeah, cool. That's great. Beautiful. All right, everyone. Jane, why don't you say a word to finish this off? I see you leaning forward. Yeah.
And I think we get here by magnetic force, by frequency. And it's just so true that when you know you've landed, you've landed. And we're moving out of the year of the snake. We're shedding the skin. It's sometimes a bumpy process. Think of that snake crawling out with brand new skin and having to wriggle out into the forest on its own. And so it's not comfortable, but we're moving into the year of the fire horse for the first time in 60 years. Where were you in 1966? Were you alive? What was going on in the world in 1966? And so if you feel we're on the verge of something very big, it is true. And we do that here. we do big here, but we do it in a way that isn't too much, too fast, too soon.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. No trauma, no drama, just big movement and transformation. Yeah. Oh, yeah, good idea. Shanda's suggesting that when you get off the call, put on some music, do a little movement, do a little breath. Yeah, really, really good call. Okay, everyone. And yeah, just to close tonight, I thank you all so much for joining us. Thank you to those of you who are listening to the recording later as well. And reach out via email if you have any questions for us. And may this gathering tonight benefit all beings everywhere. May all beings be happy. May all beings be free, free of suffering and the causes of suffering. And may we all recognize our liberation together. Thank you so much. Okay.
thank you, everybody.
Blessings.
Thank you. Take good care, everyone.